This is a list of the best-selling albums by year in the United States. Billboard magazine began publishing year-end lists for album sales in 1956. Until 1991, the Billboard album chart was based on a survey of representative retail outlets that determined a ranking, not a tally of actual sales. Weekly surveys and year-end charts by Billboard and other publications such as now defunct Cashbox magazines sometimes differed. For instance, during the 1960s and 1970s, the number one album as determined by these two publications differed in 10 out of 20 years. From 1992 onwards, the Billboard year-end and weekly charts were calculated by Nielsen SoundScan. Note that this slightly differs from prior Billboard year-end album charts, which were a measure of chart performances over 12 months from around December to November, cutoff determined by Billboard's publication schedule, rather than actual total sales. Harry Belafonte's 1956 record entitled Calypso was the first product to be recognized as a top-selling album for a year once Billboard magazine started tracking sales figures. Adele's 2011 record 21 currently holds the title for the U.S.'s top-selling digital album. American pop/R&B singer-songwriter Mariah Carey, singer Whitney Houston, British glam rock performer Elton John, rapper Eminem, American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift, British singer-songwriter Adele, and Canadian artist Drake each have had two of their albums be top sellers in two separate years in the U.S. Pop singer Michael Jackson's 1982 Thriller became the best-selling record in the country for two consecutive years in the 1980s, and later became the best-selling album of all time. Other albums to achieve the same accomplishment included the My Fair Lady original cast recording from the hit 1956 Broadway production between 1957 and 1958, the original soundtrack of West Side Story between 1962 and 1963, and the album 21 by Adele between 2011 and 2012. That album, along with her follow-up 25, which was the best-selling album of 2015, made Adele the only artist to have the top-selling album of at least 3 separate years. However, their greatest hits, 1971 to 1975, by American rock group Eagles currently holds the title of the U.S.'s biggest-selling album, with a 38 times platinum certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. Carrot Eye each year is linked to the article about music that year. After Billboard began obtaining sales and airplay information from Nielsen SoundScan and Nielsen Broadcast Data Systems, the year-end charts are now calculated by a very straightforward cumulative total of year-long sales points. This gives a more accurate picture of any given year's most popular titles, as an entry that hypothetically spent 9 weeks at number 1 in March could possibly have earned fewer cumulative points than one spending 6 weeks at number 3 in January. Albums at the peak of their popularity at the time of the November/December chart year cutoff many times end up ranked lower than expected on a year-end tally, yet are ranked on the following year's chart as well, as their cumulative points are split between the two chart years. Sometimes, the best-selling album of the year by Billboard is different than best-selling album of the year of Nielsen SoundScan, because Billboard calculates the year from December to November and Nielsen calculates the year from January to December. In this list, from 1956 to 1991, the Billboard year-end tracking was used. From 1992 to date, Nielsen SoundScan's year-end tracking was used. Beginning in 2015, the Billboard began using album equivalent units in its methodology to determine the year's top albums.